We're going to get real today. Hello everybody and welcome to SuttonsDaze. If you're new here, my name is Lisa and we are all about pantry preparedness. But today we're going to get a little more real, I think, because I received a comment last night and I've read it and I've read it and I've read it and I've read it and I've read it, and I think it needs to be addressed. We have a beautiful sunshiny day here, highly unusual above freezing day in February in Michigan. It's still chilly. I have my sweater on. We still have a fire going in the wood stove. But I'm going to be outside soaking up some vitamin D for a little while. But I wanted to come to you guys because I received a comment on my last video, and I thought it needed addressing because it just sat wrong. Now, when I say that my family put the capital D in dysfunctional growing up, it's not an understatement, okay? I grew up in a household that was constantly fighting to get the bills paid. That was constantly just trying to survive. And it's something that I brought into my adult life. I thought that if you worked really, really hard, that things would get better. They don't. It's a learned behavior, definitely, for a lot of us, isn't it? I've been so broke that I ate popcorn, air-popped popcorn, for a whole week. That I made a hot and ready pizza last for days because that's all the money I had. And and I know what that kind of insecurity feels like. I know what not being able to fall asleep because you are so worried about how you are going to pay the bills or how you're going to pay the rent or the mortgage or the car payment, right? I know what it's like to have my electricity shut off. I do. It's definitely one of those been there, done that kind of things. I get it. I am not talking to you from way up high. I've done it. I've been there. And it's not enjoyable in any way, shape, or form. So when I received this comment, it kind of took me back for a minute. Because I have said for a long time, anybody that's been with me for a long time has heard me say more than once that we grew up, I'm 58 years old. Okay. And I grew up with parents who grew up with the concept that faster is better, that convenience is worth the extra cost, that frozen foods and manufactured foods and giving up the way that our parents did it is what you should be doing because, you know, the Joneses. Yeah, okay. Because of the situation that I grew up in, I was fully aware when there was no money during the holidays. I was fully aware of the sacrifices that my parents had to do in order to get by. And I had front row seats to the dysfunction that caused it. So when I'm talking about pantry preparedness, this is what I'm trying to help alleviate. And it doesn't require a lot of money, and it doesn't require a lot of time. It does require intention. And when it's not something that you grew up with, for generations now, we're looking at 3 to 4 generations that have been programmed thanks to the big corporations, thanks to the lobbies, the lobbyists that lobby our politicians and direct their focus. Our food has become a food-like substance, and we have been turned into rats on a wheel. We go round and round and round and do all the hard work and we struggle and we can't pay the bills, and the housing crisis today, our kids can't even move out, and people are decades in debt for a degree that gets them meaningless jobs that don't pay enough to have housing or pay off the debt for that degree. But the one thing that we all have to do is we all have to eat. It's super important. And if we're eating the garbage that they're producing and telling us, oh, well, we put We put vitamins and minerals in here so that it's healthy for you. So you put vitamins and minerals into garbage and then wonder why so many people are diabetic and wonder why so many people have cancer. Wonder why so many people are dying needlessly. There are literally food deserts. In some of the biggest cities in this country, there are food deserts where there's not a legitimate grocery store with options. But there's a McDonald's every 7 miles. There's a Burger King. There's, all the fast food nonsense. God knows we need more Starbucks. But we work so hard that we feel like we deserve these treats because it's the only joy that we get. The obesity epidemic, in my opinion, and I'm no doctor, is a direct result of all of these learned practices, all of these companies, all of these corporations forcing these food-like substances at us, telling us this is the way we should do it. And then we have people like Jane. Jane says, I watched the video and read most of the comments, as many as I could because my eyes were getting wider and wider. I'm not trying to shame anyone. Well, when you lead with that, yeah. But I can't believe that endless videos by different people have been made on basic food. Here's an adult explaining other adults how to use oatmeal, and no one finds it strange. It took about 3 generations to go from being capable and have basic understanding of basic things to where people need to be explained how to use and store something like sugar. What happened to the society here? I have a question for people. Where have you been the last 50 or so years? What did you eat? Did you go to stores? Did you have food at home? What happened to us? I just told you what happened to us. This is what they wanted us to be like. This is what they programmed us to be like. This is what they told us we should be like. And this is where we are. When for 4 generations, when you think about that, that's quite a few decades, right? The consistent message has been that convenience is the way that you should be going. And if the second person in a 2-person household has to work, then it's better and it's more convenient to have banquet pot pies or microwave this or buying the bread from the store or whatever, okay? And don't worry, we'll take care of you. We'll fill up the stores. You'll always have what you need. Unless you don't have any money. That's a whole nother game. When you take 4 generations of people and you program them to believe that the corporations are doing what's best for them, that the government is doing what's best for them by being lobbied by the corporations, this is what you're going to end up with. And the fact that Jane is surprised by any of this is utterly ridiculous and entitled. How entitled are you that you don't see that there are people out there genuinely hungry, genuinely struggling, that for generations never learned any of this because they were told they didn't need to? She goes on to say that those who are in their 20s and 30s were raised by those who are in 40s and 60s. It means they too had nothing to pass on. So the last generation that is capable of basic skills are those who were or are in their 80s and up. Now, how a person can be in their 50s and 60s and not know what to do with oatmeal. Maybe some men, but a woman? Okay. Entitled and sexist, because the men and the women were the boys and the girls that were raised to believe that the government would take care of you and that the corporations are doing what's best for you and that you don't need to learn how to do this because somebody else will do it for you so that you can go out and work your life away to pay for somebody else to do it for you. Bad weather didn't go anywhere. Do you understand that the video is presented at the level of understanding suitable for children? I don't make my videos for children, ever. I make my videos for people who are so overwhelmed at the thought of trying to stretch $1 to be able to put up some extra food in case of an emergency that it locks them up, that it literally cripples them into a non-action stance, so that they don't know where to go. They don't know what to do. They don't realize that you can do it a little bit at a time. And they were never taught. They were never taught. Jane, there hasn't been home ec in schools for a long time. So we literally have had all of the available lessons taken away from us. Now, I have received many, many wonderful and heartwarming emails. They bring tears to my eyes, telling me that I am 75, I am 80 years old, and you taught me how to pressure can. That's why I do this. That is why I do this, so that we all have the ability to be able to learn, so that we all have the ability to help someone else learn. Because being able to feed yourself and your family, regardless of how upside down the world is, like it is now, regardless, being able to do that simple task is life-changing. I've said for a really long time that we are 3 and 4 generations out of not having these skills, not knowing these skills, and losing these skills. And I made the commitment to the Dazer community that I would only show you the correct ways to do it, so that you're not risking your family, you're not risking yourself, because being dead doesn't matter how much food you have on your shelf if the food you have on your shelf kills you or makes you very ill. And so I made that commitment when I realized how much bad information was coming out in 2020, that from that point forward, I would only give you good, solid information, tested information. What you do with it from there is none of my business. It really isn't. But the entitlement, I guess the entitlement that I hear and that I see, because I hear and see it quite a bit, is just mind-boggling. Today, in the great country of the USA, there are so many people going hungry. There are so many people going without. There are so many people homeless that don't want to be homeless. There's also a good sect of homeless that choose to be homeless, okay? But there's people that don't want to be homeless. They don't want to be struggling. There are people who may have a roof over their head, but they're struggling. I mean, they're bailing water from a roof leak, or they don't know how to fix the hole in the siding, or they don't know what they're going to do about the fact that the electricity doesn't work in half the house, or the floors are starting to sink, or the electric bill still needs to get paid, the gas bill still needs to get paid, the water bill still needs to get paid. With any luck at all, there's money left over for groceries, but you're probably going to be late on your property taxes. I get it. I get it. And that's why I do what I do. To try to show you that even for $5, $10 a week, $5, $10 a month, you have the ability to start building up a stockpile of food, good food, quality food, that will help you through tough times, so that maybe eventually you have enough money to fix the hole in the roof, or to put brakes on the car. It's a weird time that we live in, when there is so much and there is so little. And if I can help one person, literally one person, be able to get a better night's sleep, be able to feed their kids or their grandkids, have just a tiny little bit less stress to deal with, then I'm good. But if you're entitled, or you're spending all your time looking down on people because you know something that they were never taught, then you're probably in the wrong place. You might need to check yourself. You might need to check yourself. We all grew up in different households. Heck, my siblings and I grew up in different households. We were in the same house our entire childhood, but you wouldn't know it if you talked to any of us. So we all took different things from when we were little. We all took different things going forward. We all learned to cope in different ways. We all have our own struggles, and we all have our own ambitions and goals. And if we can support each other a little bit more and spend a little less time looking down your nose and being entitled, it'd be a much nicer place. I'll toss the challenge out. The same challenge that I give to myself almost every single day is, how can you help somebody? How can you help somebody learn to deal with life a little bit better? How can you ease somebody's burden just a little bit? How can you be part of the solution? We have enough problems. How can you be part of the solution to help make sure that people are fed and that they know how to put up food for an emergency? Because that's what we do here. We're all about pantry preparedness. So this is a little different for the channel. It's not going to be something I do on a regular basis. But I just really felt like this needed to be addressed because, God, there's enough garbage in the world. There really is. Let's figure out a way to prop each other up. Let's figure out a way to help teach the generations coming up behind us that they don't have to rely on the fake food, fortified. That they can make their own bread and it doesn't take that much more time. That maybe they don't have to work quite as hard because they don't need as much. First, we have to convince them. Then we have to show them. Or lead by example. I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. And if you want to check out the video that prompted this conversation, it's right here. Until next time, be safe.